Proverbs 3 verse 5 to 6 tells us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths." This could be one of the most popular verses in the book of Proverbs. However, a lot of people don't fully understand this passage. As a result, some people misapply Proverbs 3 verse 5 to 6 or simply ignore it. What does it really mean to trust in the Lord? What does leaning to your own understanding really mean? Why should we acknowledge God? And how will God direct our paths? Hi, my name is Joshua Infantado, the founder of Becoming Christians Academy, the best online course for you if you want to become a more faithful and zealous servant of God. And today, we are going to discover what Proverbs 3 verse 5 to 6 really means. Before we proceed, I would like to invite you to join us with our free masterclass entitled, "What is the Meaning of Life?" It helps you to know why you are here and what your ultimate destiny is as a child of God. The class only lasts for 25 minutes, but its lessons will last forever. So, click the invitation link in the description box to learn more. Proverbs 3 verse 5 opens up with the statement, "Trust the Lord." Now notice, this is not a request, but rather, it is a command. It is not something that is optional. It is mandatory. So what does it mean to trust? If you do a Google search, Google Dictionary defines it as firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. Now, if you're going to trust God, it means that you have a firm belief, a strong conviction, faith, and confidence in the reliability, truth, ability, and strength of the Almighty. In Psalm 84 verse 11, we read, "For the Lord God is a sun and shield. The Lord will give grace and glory." Now notice this. "No good thing will He withhold from those who walk uprightly." We trust God because we know that whatever He does and whatever happens in our lives, He is always in control. Everything He does is for our own good, and even at times when we don't understand. That's the level of trust that we must have. It should be unconditional. We don't just trust God in good times, but also in bad times. It is easy to believe in God when all things are going according to plan. The real test happens when things are falling apart. When we don't understand things, would we still trust God? Yes, it is difficult to trust God when we don't know what lies ahead. However, if you trust God, you will see that once you're out of darkness and into the light, you can look back and gain a better understanding. You will soon see why things happen the way they are, and all things will suddenly make sense. As long as we trust God, we can count on Him that He will work all things together for good to those who love Him, to those who are the called according to His purpose. That's according to Romans 8 verse 28. Now, who are we going to trust? It is the Lord. Proverbs 3 verse 5 tells us, "Trust in the Lord." But who is the Lord? Lord comes from the tetragrammaton YHWH. Most scholars agree that this is pronounced as Yahweh, which means the Eternal One. Yahweh is the one who was, who is, and who is to come. It is the personal name of God. It is the name God used to introduce Himself to Moses and to distinguish Him from other false gods. King Solomon, the author of Proverbs, says that we must trust not in any gods, but we must trust the one true and living God, who is Yahweh. Yahweh is the ever-living God. He is not dead. He is actively working in the lives of people. He is the supreme ruler of the entire universe. He is the most powerful being who is not limited by time, matter, and space. Notice what the prophet Isaiah has to say about Yahweh. "Remember the former things of old, for I am God, and there is no other. I am God, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times things that are not yet done, saying, My counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. Calling a bird of prey from the east, the man who executes my counsel from a far country. Indeed, I have spoken it, I will also bring it to pass. I have purposed it, I will also do it. Do you now see the power and might of Yahweh? With this in mind, wouldn't it be logical that if ever you have to trust anyone, it should be God? When we trust God, it means that you are trusting the most powerful being who loves you and takes care of you, and you can't get any better than that. We already know who we should trust and why we should trust God. The next question is, how do we trust God? Proverbs 3 verse 5 gives us the answer. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. We need to trust Yahweh with all our hearts. We need to trust God fully and completely. Our trust in God is not just 50%, 75%, and even 95%. It must be 100%. We must not doubt, fear, and worry. We can't trust God half-heartedly, but wholeheartedly. This is how we can and should trust Yahweh. We trust Him with all our heart. After telling us what to do, King Solomon went on to explain what we must not do. Now that we are told to trust God, what must we do next? This is what we need to understand. Let's read Proverbs 3 verse 5 once again. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. The word lean in Proverbs 3 verse 5 came from the word shoan. It basically means to support oneself. The Bible is telling us we must not lean or support ourselves by our own understanding. We must not simply rely on how we see things, and we must not simply believe what we see, think, and feel. Proverbs 5 verse 5 tells us that we must trust God above all things. We can't trust in God and trust in ourselves at the same time. It is either you trust God or yourself. There's no middle ground. It is a fatal mistake to trust in yourself. Much more, trusting your own understanding. Jeremiah 17 verse 9 tells us, The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately wicked. Who can know it? You might have already heard the popular advice, just follow your heart. No, by all means don't. Don't follow your heart. Instead, follow Yahweh. Our heart, which could also represent our limited understanding, is deceitful above all things. Why then should we follow it, right? It is true that as humans, we want to be in control. We crave for understanding, but sooner or later, we must accept the fact that we can't know everything. We are finite, we are limited, we are fragile. We can only see things on the surface. We can only see the present. Isaiah 55 verse 8 to 9 tells us, For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, says Yahweh. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. With this in mind, wouldn't it be more logical to follow God instead? Surely it is. God can see the whole picture. While for us, we can only see a tiny corner of that picture. To put it in another way, we can only see the tree, but God sees the forest. Thus, don't lean on your own understanding. What you see, feel, and believe could be wrong. But God is never wrong. Our judgment could be flawed, but God's understanding is perfect. We might be worried about what the future holds, but God knows the future and He has already planned things for us. Proverbs 3 verse 6 tells us that we must acknowledge God in all our ways. Notice, God expects us to always do this. We need to acknowledge Him in all our ways, not just in some. It says in all your ways, and that's exactly what it means. We trust and dedicate God in our physical, financial, emotional, social, and spiritual life, and all things in between. But what do you mean by acknowledging God? Acknowledging God means to remember God in all the things you do. It means to recognize that He plays a major role in your life. Acknowledging God means that you rely on Him and trust Him. Before you make a plan in your life, you ask God's will to be done. You always seek God's purpose every time you make a decision. You don't do any action without first seeking the counsel of God. You don't ignore Him, but instead, you make Him your partner in life, be it in your career, relationship, and personal life. What happens then when you acknowledge God in all your ways? God will then direct your path. As you can see, God can't direct your path if you don't even seek His will and purpose in your life. He can't teach you His wisdom if you don't even want to be taught. When you have the willing heart to follow God, naturally, God can now better direct your path. Yes, God is powerful, but He will never force us to follow Him. He won't shove His way of life down in our throat. He won't treat us like robots. In Deuteronomy 30 verse 19, we read, I call heaven and earth as witnesses today against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life, that both you and your descendants may live. God wishes nothing but good for us. We have a choice on how we must live our lives. We can either choose life or death, blessing or cursing. But God's desire is for us to choose life. When we choose the right option, what will happen? He shall direct our paths. The best thing about God directing our path is that we can have the confidence that the path we are treading is leading to life. We don't have to worry whether we are on the right track or not. As long as God is directing us, we are in good hands. Friends, this is the deep meaning of Proverbs 3 verse 5 to 6. It is my sincerest desire that now you have a better understanding on what it means to trust God, not leaning on your own understanding, acknowledging Him, and letting Him direct your path. If you have some questions, if you have something to add, please let me know in the comments below. As always, if you find this presentation helpful and inspiring, please share this to your friends. That's it for me. I hope you learned a lot of great lessons from today's presentation. May these lessons guide and inspire you as you continue your Christian journey. Again, I am Joshua Infantado of Becoming Christians, praying that the Almighty will bless you with His grace, truth, and love. See you